something has clearly shifted around Ryan Reynolds, but not in the way many people expected. Despite weeks of headlines surrounding the legal battle involving Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, Ryan Reynolds hasn't been pushed out of Hollywood. There are no reports of an official blacklist, and according to a recent Daily Mail report, he still has major relationships across the industry. Yet behind closed doors, insiders reportedly say the conversation has changed in a way that could have lasting consequences. That's what makes this story so unusual. The same influence that helped Reynolds become one of Hollywood's most bankable stars is now, according to several executives quoted by the publication, causing some studios to think twice before attaching him to new projects. Not because they believe he can't deliver at the box office, but because every major casting decision now comes with a new calculation: is the attention surrounding him worth the risk? According to the report, Reynolds reportedly sees the situation very differently. Insiders claim he believes the controversy will eventually fade, and that the best response is simply to keep working. The strategy is straightforward: focus on future projects, let successful films speak for themselves, and trust that Hollywood, and audiences, will move on with time. On the surface, that approach isn't without precedent. Hollywood has seen plenty of careers recover after controversy, especially when a major hit reminds audiences why a star became successful in the first place. Success often changes the conversation faster than almost anything else. But this situation may be more complicated than simply waiting for the headlines to disappear. According to the Daily Mail's reporting, the concern inside parts of the industry isn't centered only on Blake Lively's legal dispute. Instead, insiders suggest that documents and communications made public during the ongoing litigation have prompted some people to re-examine Reynolds' role and the way he has reportedly exercised influence behind the scenes. Those reported revelations, not just the lawsuit itself, are what some believe have altered perceptions inside Hollywood. One executive quoted by the publication offered perhaps the most striking assessment, reportedly saying Reynolds has spent years building significant influence within the industry and that many people have been reluctant to challenge him because of that power. Whether that perception proves lasting remains to be seen, but it helps explain why the discussion has shifted from simple celebrity gossip to broader questions about reputation and influence. And that's where the story really begins. The question is no longer whether Ryan Reynolds can land another movie. According to these reports, the bigger question is whether one successful film will be enough to restore the image that helped make him one of Hollywood's most trusted stars in the first place. The Daily Mail report suggests that Reynolds isn't facing an outright Hollywood exile. Instead, insiders describe a much more subtle shift. According to multiple executives and industry figures cited by the publication, the issue isn't whether he can still get work, it's whether hiring him has become a more complicated business decision than it was just a year ago. One studio executive reportedly explained that Reynolds is still considered pleasant to work with on set. The hesitation, they said, comes from a different place. His salary commands a premium, and with ongoing legal headlines surrounding Blake Lively's dispute, some studios simply aren't eager to invite additional scrutiny onto projects that already carry significant financial risk. That distinction matters. This isn't a report about Hollywood closing its doors on Ryan Reynolds. It's about executives recalculating value versus risk. For years, hiring Reynolds meant securing one of the industry's most recognizable stars, a proven box office draw, a marketing powerhouse, and the face behind blockbuster successes like Deadpool. His reputation for creative promotion often became part of the appeal, turning movie campaigns into cultural moments that generated attention well beyond the films themselves. Now, according to the Daily Mail's sources, that equation has become more complicated. Alongside Reynolds' star power comes the possibility that interviews, press tours, and promotional campaigns could be overshadowed by questions about the ongoing legal battle and the allegations dominating entertainment headlines. Even if those questions have nothing to do with the film itself, studios reportedly have to consider whether the distraction is worth taking on. For major franchises, that may be a manageable challenge. But for smaller productions, whether it's a comedy, a drama, or another original project, the calculation can look very different. Executives have budgets to protect, investors to satisfy, and marketing campaigns they hope will stay focused on the movie instead of controversy. And that's why insiders believe this moment is different. The discussion is no longer centered solely on Reynolds' popularity with audiences. It's increasingly about predictability. Hollywood has always been an industry driven by projections, and when uncertainty enters the picture, decision-makers often become more cautious than the public realizes. But perhaps the most revealing part of the report isn't how studios are responding, it's how Reynolds himself is reportedly viewing the situation. Because if the insiders are correct, his strategy for navigating the controversy may be very different from what many people expected. According to the Daily Mail's reporting, Ryan Reynolds doesn't appear to believe his own career is at the center of the controversy. Sources quoted by the publication say he views himself primarily as a husband who stood beside Blake Lively during a difficult legal fight, and that perspective is reportedly shaping how he plans to move forward. If those insiders are correct, Reynolds believes time is on his side. Rather than publicly revisiting every headline or responding to every criticism, the report says he expects future projects, and eventually another successful film, to shift the conversation back toward his work instead of the legal dispute. It's a strategy built on patience, and Hollywood history certainly offers examples where that approach has worked. But there's another side to the equation. The challenge, according to the same report, isn't simply that Reynolds was connected to a lawsuit. It's that court filings, emails, and text messages that surfaced during the ongoing litigation have fueled broader conversations about how he allegedly operated behind the scenes. Those reported communications have led some observers to reassess the public image that Reynolds spent years building. It's important to note that these are claims and interpretations surrounding an active legal dispute, not final judicial findings. That's a very different problem than ordinary celebrity controversy. Public scandals often fade with time. But when new information causes people to rethink someone's long-established reputation, rebuilding trust can become much more complicated. For years, Reynolds cultivated an image that blended humor, self-awareness, and clever marketing. Whether he was promoting a movie, launching a business venture, or appearing in viral advertising campaigns, the formula was remarkably consistent, and remarkably successful. Audiences embraced the idea that he was one of Hollywood's most relatable stars. Now, according to the Daily Mail's sources, some industry figures are looking at that same public persona through a different lens. They're asking whether the image they saw on screen fully reflected what was happening behind the scenes. That shift in perception, fair or unfair, may be one of the biggest challenges Reynolds faces moving forward. At the same time, there's little evidence in the report that his business empire has suffered immediate damage. Companies and ventures associated with Reynolds continue to operate, but the article also cautions against drawing sweeping conclusions while the legal proceedings are still unfolding. The long-term impact, insiders suggest, may not become clear until future projects are announced and audiences ultimately decide how they respond. And that uncertainty leads directly to the next question: what happens if one of Hollywood's biggest franchises becomes part of the conversation? Because according to the report, that's where Marvel and Deadpool could find themselves facing a very different set of challenges. If the Daily Mail's reporting is accurate, the biggest test for Ryan Reynolds may not come from another courtroom headline, it could come from his next major blockbuster. According to the article, questions are already being raised about what this controversy could mean for Marvel and the future of the Deadpool franchise. Reynolds isn't simply another actor in the Marvel universe. He's widely viewed as the creative force behind the modern version of Deadpool, with his personality closely tied to the character's success. That makes any shift in public perception especially significant. For Marvel, perception matters almost as much as box office numbers. A major superhero release depends on months of promotion, press tours, interviews, convention appearances, and non-stop media coverage. Ideally, every headline builds excitement for the film. But according to the report, executives have reason to wonder whether future promotional events could instead become dominated by questions about the ongoing legal battle rather than the movie itself. That doesn't mean Marvel is abandoning Ryan Reynolds. In fact, the report never suggests anything close to that. Instead, it presents a far more practical possibility: waiting. Allow the legal process to play out. Let public attention cool. Then decide when the timing feels right to bring Deadpool back. From a business standpoint, that isn't punishment, it's risk management, something major studios practice every day. Meanwhile, another part of the Daily Mail coverage briefly shifted attention to Blake Lively's longtime friendship with Taylor Swift. The article quoted a source suggesting Blake has been close to Taylor for years and possesses knowledge about her private life that has never become public. The report then questioned whether any of that information would ever be revealed, while making clear that this remains speculation rather than a confirmed development. For now, there's no indication that such information will play any role in the legal dispute. Still, the fact that entertainment outlets are discussing those possibilities shows just how interconnected this story has become. What began as a legal conflict has expanded into a much broader conversation involving Hollywood relationships, celebrity influence, and the potential impact on multiple high-profile figures. But when the speculation is stripped away, the Daily Mail report keeps returning to the same central point. According to insiders, Ryan Reynolds doesn't appear to believe his own actions are the primary reason his reputation has come under increased scrutiny. Instead, the report says he continues to view himself as someone who supported his wife through a difficult chapter, and that difference in perspective may ultimately shape how this entire situation unfolds. Whether that strategy succeeds won't be decided by headlines alone. It will depend on how Hollywood responds, how audiences react, and whether Reynolds' next major project changes the conversation, or simply reopens it once again. But even if Ryan Reynolds still has powerful allies in Hollywood, insiders quoted by the Daily Mail suggest the larger issue isn't simply whether he can keep getting roles, it's whether his public image can return to what it once was. And according to the report, that's where opinions inside the industry appear to be divided. The publication says Reynolds reportedly believes the current controversy will fade with time. His strategy, according to sources, is straightforward: stay focused on work, keep producing successful projects, and allow audiences to move past the headlines. It's an approach that's worked for other major stars before, and Hollywood has a long history of embracing comeback stories when the box office delivers. But critics of that strategy argue there's an important difference this time. The discussion isn't only about the existence of a lawsuit. It's about how the legal battle has changed the way some people view Reynolds himself. According to the Daily Mail's reporting, some observers believe the controversy has encouraged audiences and industry insiders to take a second look at the image he carefully built over the years, one centered on humor, self-awareness, and relatability. Whether that reassessment is fair remains a matter of opinion. What isn't disputed is that the conversation has changed. Instead of talking exclusively about Reynolds' next movie or his latest marketing campaign, entertainment headlines are increasingly focused on reputation, influence, and the long-term impact of the ongoing legal proceedings. That alone marks a significant shift from where his public image stood only months ago. The report also points out that Reynolds still has considerable advantages. He remains one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars, continues to have projects in development, and there's no indication that the industry has officially turned its back on him. In fact, insiders repeatedly emphasize that this is not a blacklist. The concern is far more nuanced than that. According to those same sources, the real question is whether audiences are willing to separate the actor from the headlines surrounding him. If they do, another successful film could quickly reshape the narrative. If they don't, every new project may continue to face the same questions before cameras even start rolling. And that's why many people in Hollywood are watching so closely. This isn't just about one actor or one lawsuit. It's become a case study in how quickly reputation can shift in the entertainment industry, and how difficult it can be to rebuild once public perception begins to change. In Hollywood, careers are often measured not only by talent, but by trust, timing, and the confidence that studios believe audiences still have in their biggest stars. For Ryan Reynolds, the next chapter may not be decided in a courtroom. It may be decided when his next major project finally reaches audiences. Because that's when the industry will learn whether this controversy was simply a temporary setback, or the beginning of a lasting change in one of Hollywood's most carefully crafted public personas. One thing is becoming increasingly clear: this story has grown far beyond a single lawsuit. According to the Daily Mail, Hollywood insiders are now watching something much bigger unfold: whether one of the industry's most successful personal brands can recover after a public shift in perception. That's a far different question than whether Ryan Reynolds can simply book another movie. For years, Reynolds built a reputation that felt almost impossible to crack. He wasn't just a leading man. He became known as the actor who could market virtually anything, blend humor with business, and turn every appearance into a viral moment. That carefully crafted image helped him stand out in an industry filled with A-list stars. But reputations can change faster than careers. The Daily Mail report suggests that some executives are no longer looking only at Reynolds' box office value. They're also considering whether the attention surrounding him could overshadow future projects. That's not the same as saying his career is over. It's simply a reflection of how major studios weigh risk when investing hundreds of millions of dollars into a film. History shows that Hollywood often welcomes comeback stories. Many actors have returned from controversy after delivering a successful film, and insiders quoted in the report acknowledge that Reynolds could do exactly the same. If his next major project connects with audiences, much of today's conversation could look very different a few years from now. But that outcome isn't guaranteed. According to the report, the larger challenge is rebuilding confidence, not only with studios, but with audiences who may now view his public persona differently than they once did. Whether that perception lasts or fades will likely depend on what happens next, both inside the courtroom and on the big screen. For now, one thing remains certain. Ryan Reynolds hasn't been officially blacklisted from Hollywood. He still has influence. He still has opportunities. But as the Daily Mail report makes clear, the conversation surrounding his career has changed, and in Hollywood, perception can be just as powerful as success itself. The next chapter won't be written by rumors or social media debates. It will be written by future projects, the outcome of the ongoing legal proceedings, and ultimately, by audiences deciding whether they're ready to embrace Ryan Reynolds in the same way they once did. The bigger picture here isn't whether Ryan Reynolds can make another movie. According to the Daily Mail report, the real question is whether audiences, and Hollywood itself, will view him the same way they did before this controversy. That's something no insider, executive, or studio can answer today. For now, one thing is clear. Reynolds hasn't been blacklisted. He remains one of the industry's biggest stars, with powerful connections and future projects still on the horizon. But insiders suggest the conversation around him has changed. Studios are reportedly weighing more than talent and box office appeal, they're also considering the potential risks that come with the ongoing legal headlines. According to those same sources, Reynolds believes the best way forward is simple: keep working, deliver another successful film, and allow time to reshape public opinion. Hollywood has seen comeback stories before, and it's entirely possible this could become another one. But whether that strategy succeeds will ultimately depend on how audiences respond when his next major project arrives. Until then, the legal proceedings are still unfolding, public opinion continues to evolve, and the entertainment industry is watching closely. The next chapter of Ryan Reynolds' career won't be written by speculation, it will be shaped by future developments, future films, and the audience that decides whether this controversy becomes a temporary setback or a lasting turning point. And as always, we'll continue following every major development as this story unfolds. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update.